Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Self-Improvement Project. We are now over 2.5 years of the Self-Improvement Project podcast. So if you were here from the start or this is your first episode, thank you for taking the time to listen today. And I hope you have enjoyed or are going to enjoy the content that continues to follow. I hope you are all well. I hope you have had a wonderful time since listening to the last episode. I don't know if people listen to these as a batch collectively or if they do wait the 1 week. Every Monday has been for around 2 years now. But I hope you've been fine. I hope you are in a good place mentally with yourself, giving yourself the credit when credit is due, not being too extreme on yourself when things don't go your way, and just enjoying that process that comes with it as well. This leads me on to my topic today, which is titled, You're Exactly Where You're Supposed to Be. Now, this is something that I always like to find as a stark reminder, a reality check, and is almost always a grounding statement. Whether you're getting too far ahead of yourself, whether you're not, or whether you feel like you're not making enough progress, what is happening right now, inclusive of all the mistakes that you will make and have made, you are exactly where you're supposed to be. The easiest one is to maybe think around is career and job. Another one might be just life in general, the stage of life that you are at. These can be quite common ones as well. But as we'll explore a little bit more today, nobody has control over this. And I guess I would suggest there is one good reason to justify using this mindset sometimes when you need it. So you're exactly where you're supposed to be, whether that be good or bad, exciting or mundane, busy or quiet. There is a reason your life is the way it is right now. One of the factors that will contribute to this is your decisions. The decisions that you have made based on your values, your beliefs, maybe decisions that you've made when you've been influenced by something or someone. And I think this is where we get caught up in the accountability and responsibility of, oh, I should be here by now, or I should have achieved this by this moment. And this is how the decisions can influence us to blame ourselves. But you need to make a decision without knowing whether it's right a lot of the time. It's always right. It's always better to make the decision though, rather than have someone make it for you. Let's look at the example of routine versus spontaneity in this context of you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Too much routine is boring, and too much spontaneity is overwhelming or potentially exhausting. And as humans, we can struggle to balance contrasting things in our lives. However, if you have too much routine and you're finding it boring, maybe that's what you need right now. Maybe something has been really random and spontaneous over the last wee while, and you need routine, you need rest, you need a break. Or on the other hand, maybe you've had enough routine in your life, and the thing that you need in your life to make you come alive is this randomness that you maybe haven't been exposed to before. This is what's going to make you over the next few weeks, few months, few years. And this is why I perhaps discredit this trait we have to struggle to balance as humans, because we need it in order to grow, in order to evolve, and in order to live life properly. Another example would be that a lot of us desire more free time or freedom. And you potentially sit here feeling trapped, maybe feeling like if only you had more time or more freedom, you would be happier. But again, this is potentially a bit of a hoax. Have you ever had more than 2 weeks off without any trips or holidays or any plans, and just had that time off with no work, no tasks, nothing to do? It actually becomes unbearably boring. Unlimited free time and choice is beyond our capability, and actually takes away the feeling of pleasure that we feel like it should bring. So again, if there's this feeling of, I wish I had this, and this desire-led feeling, there's something there telling you or present that you need to acknowledge that is keeping you where you are, whether that be good or bad. An important thing to acknowledge here as well is suffering. Like I said there's almost a feeling of pain or suffering in regards to not having control over your time. And you may be here listening, despising a current tough situation that you are in. Whether that is mentally being in a dark place, or perhaps experiencing a number of setbacks or failures. Now, as I have mentioned and suggested before, these failures or this tough place is something that you're supposed to be going through. And on that, I want to share a short personal story of an example of this. Back in 2012, I was in a place in between studies. I'd had dreams of going across to America on a football scholarship. And due to circumstances, situations, this dream was not realised, despite it being the only plan. Now, on top of that being the only plan being a lesson here, I'm not going to go into that one today. However, I got a full-time job, typical minimum wage, long hours, physically fairly exhausting, in a coffee shop. And this is an example of, I did this for a year, and this is an example of I was supposed to be there in that year. Now let me set a bit of context here. I would serve coffee to people I didn't know every day. I would only know people through their coffee orders. I didn't know them as a person. Sometimes I could have been serving the man who was the president of the university across the road, And sometimes I could be giving coffee to someone that had been coming to that coffee shop longer than I'd been alive. Anyway, I was supposed to be there in that year because as I applied for studies beyond that, I was serving someone I didn't know every single day that was the partner of the head of the faculty of the course I was applying for. And again, without knowing this until years down the line, through a one-off conversation with that head of faculty, the position that I was in, but also the way I was being, the positive, calm, kind individual to every person that you're seeing, was having that impact on that person, so that when my application went in and my name got recognised in that situation, it definitely will have benefited my hopes of going to study on that course later down the line. And again, you might call it fate, but that is an example of that tough time, those hard hours doing something that you don't enjoy, working in your favour towards something that will set you up later down the line. I was supposed to be there at that time, and the position that you're in right now, you will be where you're supposed to be. As I've mentioned, it's always easier to look back at these life lessons later on, but we never take enough time in the present to realise what it is teaching us. This is obviously easier said than done, especially from a mental toughness point of view, especially the impact that personal failures can have on our mentality. It can be tough, I am acknowledging that. But this is almost reassurance for you that you are supposed to be where you are right now, and you can use this in your favour now and in the future. If life is fast right now, what is it trying to teach you? If life is slowing down, or you're feeling like you're plateauing or stagnating, what is the lesson? It all comes back to control. That stoic approach of, what are you in control of? Are you in control of being friendly and kind to the people that you come across day in, day out? Are you in control of that application for something that you really want to do? Are you in control of those conversations with those people that you want to be with or be surrounded by? And whether it is perhaps a more negative situation that you are currently in, that you're supposed to be in for now, I always like to think of the quote of a book I read earlier this year, and it's as simple as, "This too shall pass." Obviously, that is meant in a negative term to reassure you and get you through it, but it's also in a positive term. If you are on a high right now, this too shall pass. And it is all about that balance. Bjorn Nathiko Lindeblad, I believe, is the name of the monk and author of the book that I was referring to there as well. So I hope you've enjoyed that today. A little bit of a story, which is different as well. Let me know what you think. I would love to hear your stories as well. I love the answers to the questions that I put on Spotify, so thank you for those. I love the emails that people write to give a bit of context as well. And I now love the relationships that I'm developing with the outer world that come from this podcast as well. So thank you very much for listening, and I will see you all next time. Cheers.